Welcome to the 100X Life Podcast, where we activate people who desire to live the words of Jesus and experience the abundant life he promises. I'm your host, Rob Dayton, and I hope this podcast inspires you to put in the work of following Jesus.
Now the Spirit of the Lord is upon me to bind up the brokenhearted and set the captives free.
Hey, 100X Lifers, welcome back to the podcast. Oh my gosh, day 35. I can't believe you've hung in this long. It's so awesome. I hope you're having a great time. Most important thing is that you're connecting with God. You feel like you are connected with the Trinity. You feel like you're hearing each of them speak. You're learning how you hear. This is the creme de la creme of the process. Of course, we want to live the words of Jesus, and we're going to talk about that. We're on Word of Jesus 31, and this is Be Merciful. And I got Cathy Midyett on the line. I'm so excited. You might recall Ron, her husband, did Become Like a Child, which is awesome for him. And now we've got Cathy to talk about Be Merciful. And before we begin and before we introduce Cathy, I just want to say, I was in the master's program today. Actually, yesterday, we're recording the day before release, and guys were talking about testimony in the room, and it just slapped me across the face because when we think about testimony, typically what we mean is the story of how we met Jesus. And that would be right. That is definitely a testimony. But I want to introduce you to the concept before we get into Be Merciful is a testimony in Jesus's 100X life process would be any word that you can live. And then when you live, you give people the experience of that word, and then they get hope to do that word themselves. They just like the story of the cross is irresistible. It draws us in. It says, wow, that's truth. I want that. Can't believe he did that for me. When we give testimony in just one of the words of Jesus today, be merciful, if we can give mercy away and people see us demonstrating that, that is the authentic testimony. And then sometimes you have a story about how you gave mercy away. And I just want to say is sometimes it's appropriate to tell your story of how you met Jesus, sometimes, but almost all the time it's appropriate to say, here's my story on forgiveness. Here's my story on mercy. Here's my story on how I became like a child in this situation. Here's how I did not condemn. Here's how I settled matters quickly. All these things that we're learning. Here's how I've changed the way I see things. My whole perception is different now. Those things that we share with people that are real live words of Jesus put into action become the powerful gravitational pull to wanting to know Jesus. We are demonstrating the lifestyle that's so attractive. So I hope that's encouraging to you because we want to have a testimony. And I want you to have 55 commands of Christ dwelling in you so that you have so much love. Remember that the words of Jesus is the actions of love, and that testimony will be so powerful, so irresistible, the world will be transformed. So just a thought I was having yesterday. Cathy Midyett, oh my gosh, welcome to the podcast. So Cathy and Ron are extremely close friends. You probably know that. Nancy and myself, and we stay at their house a lot in San Luis Obispo, actually AG. So Cathy, tell us about yourself. Tell us where you've come in life. What's going on? What do we need to know?
Well, you've already brought up a big part of my life, which is Ron, my husband. And, for me, I grew up in a great Catholic home and just went through knowing that God loved me, but didn't necessarily know that he wasn't disappointed in me. And so, for me, this word actually speaks pretty strongly. We have 2 kids, Andrew and Lauren, launched, doing great. So fun to see that aspect going on. And I guess the biggest thing for me is that, yes, I graduated in master's program in December, and I am in the process of completing or halfway through with my first life launch facilitation. So we're enjoying that. Got my ladies and 100X ladies, and it's fun. We're having a good time.
Wow. And it's so fun for me to watch because, and just for our listeners, Life Launch, TMPX Life Launch is the scalable portion of the master's program. Once you complete the master's program, you're given the opportunity to actually purvey the master's program through Life Launch. And Cathy has done that. And, that I know for you, and you can say more about this, but I know for you, one of your journeys in your journey is you just had to come to this precipice that I need to say yes to Jesus. I just need to say yes. Here's an opportunity. I'm scared. I don't know if I can do this. I'm going to say yes. And I love that. Is that true? Can you tell us more about that?
That is so true. Actually, in session 6 in Life Launch, Noah talks about the unforeseen sin of greed and what are you greedy for? And I decided or realized that I am greedy for my comfort zone. And that is a place that I really enjoy being. And so for me, it was a real exercise of in the gym of being willing and able to say yes to what God had for me. And it has been, as you say, an incredible journey, scary, but so exciting at the same time. And it's really fun to just see myself grow, but then also to have all of you guys, you and Nadia, and even Damien and all these people who just really rally around me and all my TMPW sisters, everyone just really has become this community for me and lifted me up and pushed me forward. And so it's just been really fun to have that and see that growth in myself as well.
That's so good. And my question for you on that one is, so for me, I'm always telling people, hey, do Life Launch, if nothing else, for the selfish reason of making sure you're actually living the TMP system, which we would call maybe a Jesus following system. Yeah. Is that true for you?
Absolutely. Sometimes I look at these sessions and I think, was I even present at my TMPW? This is just crazy. I don't even remember going through this, but it's there in my binder. I know we went through it, and it was that fire hose for a while. And I really have come to 100% appreciate the one takeaway. And there's one gal in my TMP, in my Life Launch class, who really tried to impress that upon everyone. And so now every time I'm saying, what is your one takeaway before you leave, before you step out the door?
Yeah. What's your one takeaway? I love that. And I think that makes it simple. And then how many know if you have one thing that you can transform in the next 90 days, after you've been doing that for 15 years, you're on a different place in the planet.
Very much so. It's easy to get caught up in how many things I could change, but this is a great Life Launch has been an amazing way for me to go back through and further develop some of those habits and some of those ideas and concepts.
Yeah, that's been my experience. I love coaching the master's program for that reason. It's always pressure to stay on point and to not lose sight of my relationship with God, because none of this coaching really works without being plugged into Him. So,
absolutely.
So, love hearing that. You said earlier, okay, so you have this Catholic faith and you weren't necessarily seeing God as this loving father, probably a disappointed dad.
No, I always knew He loved me. There was always love. But what in my perception, what I was seeing was Him kind of rolling His eyes at me and, yeah, I love you. You're forgiven. It's all good. But one of these days you're going to get it.
So it's kind of the parent that is hopeful and yet disappointed at once.
Yes, that's very true.
Okay, and so how does this word crush that? How does be merciful, and I'm guessing you're saying God's mercy towards you,
right?
How does it crush that?
Absolutely. But it did take a long time for me to really understand what Jesus did for me on the cross. I know I was taught that. I know that it was presented. I think the Catholic faith is wonderful. I have an amazing model in my parents of having relationships with Jesus. But that, for some reason, just never really happened for me. And so when I really grasped the concept of not only that God sent his son, but then his son died on the cross for me. I just kind of thought he just died on the cross. But when it really hit me in my heart, like, this is for me, that was when I just was flooded with this idea of mercy and combined with love, just absolute love.
So you would say you're connecting on this word, be merciful, is that God was merciful to you and did the unthinkable for you, something like that.
Yes. And not realizing, but thinking that I was undeserving.
Mm.
I never really thought I was that person who had that testimony of, oh, I don't think I'm worthy. I never really thought that I had that. But as I look back, there was definitely that feeling of undeserving. And that ties in beautifully with the definition of mercy, right? So for me to feel like I did things that, were not what God had wanted for me, but then they were wiped clean, absolutely clean. They weren't just shoved under a rug to be counted later. They were clean. They were gone.
Connect this with this thought that God's encouraging but eye rolling. How does the be merciful just destroy the eye rolling? It's not happening anymore. Tell me, can you peel that back?
There was a visual that was given me once, and I'm not sure that this completely ties in, but it was a big marker for me. It was someone had taken a picture frame and taken the glass out and written Jesus on it and held it up and said, let's pretend I'm God and I'm looking at you through this glass, but I only see you through Jesus. And that just struck a chord. Like, he doesn't see, like, he's not going to find wrong in Jesus. So he doesn't see any of that. It's gone. It's gone on the cross. Past, present, and future. That was another thing that was really hard to grasp. So, I mean, in some senses, it's like that basic salvation gospel. But for me, a lot of it was wrapped up in that mercy of this loving kindness that I don't even see that. It's okay. It's gone.
It's almost like God's mercy is choosing to see Jesus and not the sin at all. Like he's so paid for you that he's seeing you as pure like Jesus. That's crazy good. And I always think about John the Baptist saying, "Behold the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world." And the word world is the same word in John 3:16. The word world is cosmos. It means all created things. And Jesus took away the sins of the world, like comprehensive. There's just like you said, it's past, present, future. All the sins are gone. It's so funny because to me, it's like we talk about sins so dang much. And much of the words of the Jesus are hard to live because we see some behavior and we say that's sin and that's wrong. Whereas Jesus is just seeing himself in your depiction. And then that becomes, just that whole image becomes such freedom.
Yes.
If we can see like him, it's like, now I don't have any encumbrances. I don't have anything to be angry at. Which is freedom.
That's right. That is so true.
Come on. Okay. Well, let's get into this because I'm excited about it. So again, this is, we're on word 31, be merciful. And I want to read to you. I'm going to read you the scripture. And Cathy, I want to kind of get your take on just at face value, but because it's so few words, after I read the scripture, I'm going to read the lead in because I think that there's some context here. And this doesn't say so, Sermon on the Mount in Luke, but this is Luke tracking that same section of Matthew. And so he's saying, this is Luke 6:36 from the NIV, be merciful just as your Father is merciful. And here's the lead in. So this is from 6:35. Love your enemies, do good to them, and lend to them without expecting to get anything back. Then your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High, because he is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. Be merciful, just as your Father is merciful. Okay, so face value, what's the first thing that comes to mind, or few things that come to mind that you're like, whoa?
Well, I think just the examples of how he was merciful and how he is asking us to be merciful, the practicality of those examples. And I do love how this one little sentence is sandwiched between love your enemies and don't judge others. I just feel like because there's so much when people do us wrong, we want to judge them. We don't want to help them. We don't want to show them compassion. And he's saying, if they're asking, give, lend, do, heal.
Yeah, that's really good. And when you say that, what it makes me think of, we've talked about justice, mercy, and grace in the form of a speeding ticket. And justice is the cop pulls you over for speeding, you get the ticket. So mercy is you're still pulled over, but you don't get the penalty. And grace is you get pulled over and you get $1,000 for your speed rather than a ticket. So the reason I'm pointing that out is that mercy is actually almost a lower bar than grace. I don't know. Does that give us hope to be able to complete that? Because I think a lot of people, maybe it's a stepping stone to grace. That, hey man, are you kidding me? Someone robs me and I offer him something else? How about I just let him off the hook?
Yeah. And I think that's oftentimes our first reaction, right? Someone does something to us and we want to repay, recount. We want to have, get our due, whatever. We want to hold them accountable. But, sort of in that turn the other cheek sort of realm, showing the mercy and the compassion of just saying, hey, it's all right. I'm going to be kind today. I
mean, yeah, because every day is a new battle, right?
Right, exactly. Goodness, good thing there's new mercies, right?
Oh my gosh, I didn't even thought about that.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. Okay, we need to stop, pause, talk about this. Tell us about new mercies, because this is what the word says. I'm forgetting which is the citation, but his mercies are new every morning. So not just merciful once, merciful new every day. And before you tell us about that, the thing that I think about that I'm so fascinated by is that when how we say, I'm going to sleep on it?
Yes.
It's like daytime as a thinking process, nighttime's a sorting process. And in that process of sorting, somehow things get righted. Mm-hmm. And we have a fresh start. Somehow the morning has new hope that wasn't there when we went to sleep. Do you know what's going on there with Jesus and the mercy that he's giving us every morning?
Oh gosh, I just think that to me, that's just the reminder that everything has been erased, that he is fresh with new love every morning as if he fell in love with me for the first time. Just being able to extend to me the mercy for anything I've done, and that I can wake up and be fresh and clean and ready to go and not have to look back. For me, one of my big things is I tend to look back. And Bible tells us, don't do this, look forward.
When you're looking back, what are you saying to yourself? Tell me what that does.
I'm going over and over all the things that I did, all the things I said, and different ways to do things, although that's part of the gym, right? And I think that's been fun to take that tact of it, but that's kind of a different story. But yeah, just sort of that rumination over things instead of moving forward, accepting the mercy that he's given me, that I am clean and I can move forward. Gosh. And it's just that it's almost like getting back in the gym. Every night I get back in the gym, I'm going to wake up, it's a new day. I have new hope, new excitement for the day.
That's brilliant. And I'm not sure I've thought it that way, but my interpretation of what you're saying is that it's actually the mercy that makes it a gym, because it's not a gym if there's no mercy. If there's no mercy, it's a failure. If there's mercy, it's just working out.
Yeah.
Did that hit you that way? That's crazy.
It does now. But then the other part I think of is about grace. And and the speeding ticket, if I go in the gym and I get $1,000, well, that was easy. Not that mercy's not easy, but it's like I don't know, somehow the mercy, it keeps me going. It's more like, oh, that was cool. I want more of that.
That's the spirit of which the idea I got from yours is the spirit of it is that mercy actually makes us be able to navigate our lives in a way where we're moving forward, because you were having thoughts of beating yourself up.
Mm-hmm.
And then your thought is, well, it's just a gym. It's just gym because of his mercy. And therefore I can continue to move forward, which applies to this. His mercies are new every morning. He's constantly rolling out. And then my question for us is that, so if this is Papa, if this is how Jesus behaves with dishing out mercies all the time, and I want to be called his kid, I want to be called his son, he's a father, you want to be called a daughter, how do we behave?
Well, we've been given an amazing example, right? Absolutely. Yeah, I think that, again, it's so easy to, when someone does something that hits us the wrong way, it's so easy to condemn that person, to forgive that person, to judge that person. And mercy encourages us to see beyond the superficial layer. And one of the things that really helps me is to think about the fact that I don't know someone's story. I don't know what's going on. And it's almost like when I see someone, I have to look for their suffering in a way. I have to see what's going on so that I can act in kindness. And that act becomes the mercy. Even though they may be treating me a little bit wrongly, if I give them the mercy, that's the Jesus model. Like, he went to the people who were not kind to him, but he always showed them kindness and love and compassion. He healed. He made things right.
Yeah. So, and that's the kind of the grace part is, not only am I going to let you off the hook, I'm going to benefit you right now. I'm going to see the thing that you really need. I'm going to speak the word that's actually going to move you forward. I've got this mercy thing. I'm dishing it out. This helps me move forward. I'm dishing it out so you can move forward.
But I also think that there's an action with mercy.
Yeah,
Because
same.
I can just say, I see that you're struggling. I'll pray for you. And you've talked about, well, let's pray at the moment. And I love that. But, doing something, the action of doing something, meeting someone's need who doesn't maybe deserve that, but meeting the need. And I don't know. Yeah, maybe that could be grace, but it also feels like that's kind of what Jesus did. He didn't just say, I hear you're having a rough day. I understand how you feel. He did something about it and showed that mercy.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a model.
That's so good. And at the end of the day, that's what we want to learn how to do this. We have, if we're going to put his words into practice, if we're going to keep his commandments, if we're going to follow him, we have to learn how to be merciful. He's telling us it's imperative. We need to be merciful. Okay. Well, let me throw some things at you about mercy in terms of like what it would look like, and then just get your thoughts. And I'm steering away from the book. I'm just going, and I dug up some notes from one of the ministers at House of Prayer in Santa Barbara. Her name is Holly Malmsten. So these are her thoughts that really lit me up when she was talking about this. And the first thing she brought to the forefront is that being merciful is a reaction to something you experience. It's an emotional reaction to an experience. When I think of that, of course, there's a host of variation of emotional reactions to any experience. Mm-hmm. And Jesus is trying to just steer us down to the right emotional reaction. Does that track with you? Does that give you any ideas, or does that make it more practical for you?
Well, I guess I'm questioning, is it emotion because I have received mercy, or emotion because I'm giving mercy? I mean, I guess it could be both, but
the emotional reaction is just to somebody's behavior. Somebody behaves, and we're going to say if mercy is needed, it's probably something that
okay.
could be legitimately wrong, maybe mistakenly wrong, but could be legitimately wrong, and that they've done. And then we react to that experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this thought that mercy is a reaction to someone else's experience, because for me, how it works, I want to know what you think about it, is like, well, now I know what I'm looking for. I'm going to be experiencing people, and I'm going to adjust my emotional intelligence to respond emotionally with mercy to what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely think that there is a lot of emotion wrapped up in a situation that requires mercy. Because like I said, the original reaction may not be that great, but the more that we're in the gym and the more that we think of what are other ways that I could respond to this. I mean, it's the typical someone cuts you off on the freeway or something. And honestly, for me, that situation, I think, was kind of what really started me being able to practice mercy better. Because I just started thinking, maybe they're late, maybe they're pregnant and they're in labor, and maybe,
I did have diarrhea.
yeah, maybe it's diarrhea. So, and it's all these little things. And I say little because you've talked about them repetitively in some senses, but they are everyday things and they're everyday ways that we can get in the gym and practice. And it sounds so little, but I'm telling you, as soon as I started praying over someone when they cut me off, instead of saying other things I shouldn't,
Or
you know,
giving them the universal sign.
I don't know that I ever did that, but I might have yelled a few things.
Right. And we do character. We always lean in when we're not merciful, we lean into character assassination. And when we are merciful, in your case, you're telling yourself a different story. I love the road rage scenario, because being someone who's been in transportation a long time, I've thought about road rage, and here's my conclusion. It's not about what's happening on the road. It's all about what's happening in everybody's heart every other moment of the day. And the moment of ambiguity or uncertainty about, did you cut me off? I felt like you cut me off. I got really scared when you did this. That releases that pent up emotion, because now we're in a 5,000 pound armored vehicle, protected. We can just let loose. And that's what I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so that is a reaction. Like that is a reaction where we get to choose mercy. And so I'll say to the listeners is, if you are a road rage, you just get set off, then the issue is not them. The issue is what else is going on in your day. What is the thing? What is the story you're telling yourself that you say repeatedly, and you're like, oh my gosh, they gypped me, and you spin yourself out of control to where you have to explode when you feel safe doing so on the road because someone cut you off. And then I love what you did. Way to go, because it's great practice. The road is such great practice and a great gym, because we don't really have to interact with those people, and we can self-monitor to see how we're doing and how we're able to actually transform our minds to have the emotional response, the natural emotional response that we want.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, everyone's emotions run really deep. And so another part of me, is that I'm a physical therapist, and I know that there have been times that patients have come in and they're grumpy, and, there's a ton of paperwork, especially nowadays, that has to be filled out, and they're grumping about the amount of paperwork and everything's just grumpy. And you get them in there and you start hearing their story, and it's just an eye opener of the layers of emotion that are going on. And sometimes over the course of a treatment, you may get into stuff that's happened earlier in life. And there's so much wrapped up in the body that affects the mind, and the mind affects the actions. And I think that has been a big part of me understanding that it just goes so much deeper. And that has allowed me, I think, to have greater mercy with people, to try not to have that initial reaction, but to more often say, I don't know their story. I don't
Mhm.
know their story. And do I have time to listen and find out? Sometimes, often not. I just have to say a prayer and God bless you and be on my way.
So you've actually, through the practice of restoring someone's body, have noted that the crappy things that are going on in their life are actually manifesting in the body.
Oh, absolutely. And there's so much good research that has come out in the last 10, 15 years about mind-body connection. And I think I heard a statistic not too long ago, and it might have even been here, who knows, but above 90% of chronic pain is not necessarily in the mind. They do use the word psychosomatic, but it's in a very scientific way. It's not in that, oh, it's just in my head. It's that actual connection that the mind has control over the body,
Mhm.
and it can manifest pain in different areas. And it's almost like a protective mechanism where if you have something going on in your heart, even, the mind is going to say, I know you don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. It's ugly. It's a hassle. I don't want to deal with it. So let's give you a pain in your foot. And then you get treated for your foot, and your mind's like, okay, well, now I have to bring a pain somewhere else. Otherwise, I'm going to have to deal with the heart. So it's just really interesting to learn about that connection. And self-mercy is giving yourself a little mercy is good too.
That's really good. And what's interesting about what you're saying is you're giving mercy based on your understanding of the crappy situation. Someone's thought process has played a really negative movie in their imagination. The imagination believes the thing is real and responds with cortisol and stress, and then injury ensues. And then I think about the kind of the opposite thing is, and I'm always interested in chasing this down. I think that we don't focus on this enough, is that how is this self-serving behavior? How is being merciful actually helping me? We kind of gravitate towards, here's the kingdom return on investment. But based on the conversation we're having now, you tell me, if I have an emotional, I can't believe this idiot did this, and I'm screaming and I'm working myself up, and cortisol and stress hormones and that hormone that's released in the body, or I'm all, yeah, no problem. It's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, which one's best for the body? You tell me.
Right. I mean, it doesn't need a whole lot more explanation than that. And your family's happier, your friends are happier because you're not in this irritated mode, and it gets carried over everywhere. And these opportunities are around us everywhere. And you go to a restaurant and they're short staffed, but all you see is that your service was not great. And you have a choice. You can complain, or you can look around and say, boy, they're really short staffed. Hey, you're doing a good job. You can respond with kindness and with love. You can act with that mercy, and you're going to leave feeling a whole lot better than you will if you, oh my gosh, that was a horrible experience in that restaurant. I'll never go back.
It's a win-win. Everybody wins. And like, so this is what I think is like, we think about obedience as a sacrifice. And I just say, yeah, it's the best life ever. I mean, this is abundant life would be to respond to things that are done to us that are wrong with mercy is an abundant life strategy that Jesus is offering us. And I'll say one of the other things that Holly pointed out, which I love, is that mercy is required most when it's deserved the least.
Yeah, well, I kind of thought of myself as maybe that's egotistical. I don't know, but boy, I was shown a whole lot of mercy when Jesus died on that cross for me. The mercy that I have been shown is amazing and life-changing.
And so what I feel like you're saying is that because I've experienced so much, it's almost like this thought, well, how could I not be merciful?
Yes. How could I not be merciful? And it's not easy, and I don't do it well all the time by any means. I have to admit, this is one of my better one of the few, very, very few, that I'm even on the far right and, towards the far right of the responding or refocusing and reproducing.
Well, let me confirm, because your personality is more structure needy, and you crave the structure. You want to think things through. You want to take the time. You don't want to just be thrown chaos.
Mm-hmm.
So your mercy, so this is just evidence. I watched it last night. So here we are, Ron, Cathy, Rob hanging out, just about to have dinner. And here comes some people coming on the wrong night. They're supposed to come tomorrow night, and they're here tonight. And what does Cathy do? Come on in. We got food. Come on, sit down. This is awesome. Like, if you turned it into, what are you doing here? To, man, this is such a great opportunity that you're here. Come sit down and let's talk. I'm watching you, and I'm going, dang, I want that. I want to naturally do that. I think I might force myself to do that. I want to naturally do that. It was powerful.
That's the key. I want to naturally do it. So you've talked about, that can just kind of trigger something in my mind. You've talked about fake it till you make it. And I think that has been a huge part of my process. And I used it a lot with the kids when they were growing up. Now it's come back around a little bit to, I've been questioned on this. Well, how authentic is it when you're faking it till you make it? And so I've had to kind of go through that process and think about that. But I feel like it's just like being in the gym. Going through the motions, you're practicing the act. Even if your heart's not in it, even if you're not really knowing exactly what you're doing or doing it well, I think the act of going through the motions and trying to just do it, even if I'm just doing it because I'm supposed to do it, the way you feel afterwards proves to you that, oh, that was a pretty good way to do it. So maybe faking it till you make it, maybe that actually works. So I think there's a little bit of am I being authentic in my mercy?
Mm-hmm.
There was a little bit of questioning of how authentic is that? But I think that it just comes back to being in the gym, that practicing the word, practicing the command.
Mm-hmm. Wow. This is so cool. I really appreciate this. Okay. I mean, I think we could talk time on this. It's pretty cool, because I think what you're saying is that it's like permission to get in the gym, right? Isn't it fake it till you make it? Get in the gym. I mean, people who they're attempting a new sport, or they're just learning pickleball. I'm trying to think of something that's current.
Yeah.
They're not going to do it all right at once. They're going to have to actually put in time and fail and try and fail and try and fail and try until they get it.
Yes.
So that's really, really what's happening when you say fake it till you make it.
Yes, I've come around to that. That's how I originally do it, and then I got kind of called out on it, and then I've come back to it. And the 100X gym has given me some verbiage to support the fact that fake it till you make it. It can be a very effective tool.
So cool. Okay. Let me give you the 100X lifestyle. This is how we know we're following this word, to be merciful. Okay, first one is you recognize your failures and shortcomings and want to extend mercy to others. I think that's like yours. That's how you put it into play. Like, I'm going to keep my own ways that God's been merciful to me, and I'm just going to extend that which has been extended to me. Is that right?
That is very true. And again, just like with all of these other things, and I think Kimberly even said it the other day, that, it's easy to do these things with the people we love, but it's the ones that are really hard to love that it gets a lot harder. Mm-hmm. So just keeping that in mind, that, what was done for me, I have an opportunity to pass on and be the little Christian, just to be the little Jesus.
Little Jesus. We're called body of Christ for a reason.
That's right.
Okay, cool. Here's the next one. You have a clear picture of the Father's kindness and work to emulate his mercy.
Yeah, I just think about the loving kindness. There is no eye rolling. There's no disappointment. There's no, maybe someday you'll get it. There's none of that. There's just this loving kindness that he extends to me. So why would I ever roll my eyes at someone else? I mean, I'm not saying I don't, but, I'm human.
Right?
But again, I think that keeping that picture in mind is the model I have been given to emulate.
Mhm. So good. I love that. So anything else you could think of that's practical for people who are listening on how they put be merciful into practice? I feel like we've hit it all, but is there anything else that's just super practical?
I think the only thing really, well, we've probably hit on it, honestly, but just the reaction, the emotion needs to be love, kindness, compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And we literally will have to train ourselves to have that reaction.
You're not going to
And
have it right away.
no, absolutely not. But every time we try it, every time we get in the gym, we fail and we replay that same situation. I love this because, again, it's flipped the narrative for me in my brain. Instead of ruminating on the same story, I flip it now and say, what would I have wanted it to be? And
Mm-hmm.
play that story over and over.
The replay.
The replay. And that's part of being in the gym too. And then when I have an opportunity in front of me, that's going to be right a little more foremost in my mind. Hopefully a little more foremost.
Yeah, and then eventually it just becomes a natural response where
That
you're
would
not
be
really even conscientiously trying to think or navigate what emotions are really going on inside you. You just eventually you have a really great emotional response. It's genuine, it's true. It's no
right.
longer fake it till you make it. It's just like Jesus.
That's right. And that's where the authenticity does grow. And it does come out authentic. And I've had people, it's been really nice to have people recognize, like, wow, I can't believe you said that to that person. Like, that was so nice. It's like, well, why not? You don't know what their story is.
Let's go.
So, just having the feedback, the earthly feedback is great, is wonderful.
So good. I love this. And for those of you who are on the podcast, you might be in the challenge, the 62-day challenge. You might have just picked up 100x Life, the book, and you're going through it. Be sure to visit 100xlife.com if you'd like to sign up for the challenge or be notified when there will be one. There's a way to do that. Just get on the wait list. And then we have this awesome opportunity to do some journaling prompts. And as we kind of talked about at the like, this is the thing. Like, if we can be hooked up to the Trinity in a way that's a conversation that is a coach, that is encouraging, all the things that you were saying about no eye rolling from the Trinity, and we really feel like we're hearing from them and we feel their love, we feel their presence, we feel what they think about us, then that's truly going to be the transformation and the opportunity for us to accelerate and to live the words of Jesus. That's where the power comes from. Holy Spirit's a real deal when it comes to power. So check them out. The first one is it difficult to see yourself as merciful as your Heavenly Father is merciful? I think that's a valid question, is like, do you even see the capability, your own capability of doing that? Because if you don't believe in your capability, it's going to be really hard to move in that direction. You've got to actually believe that you could be like Papa and be merciful like he is.
The one thing that, as I was journaling, the one thing that for me, I have this visual of me being tangled with the Trinity inside me. They live inside me. I'm tangled with them. And because I'm so tangled that when one moves, if I pull the other direction, there's going to be a tension. And that's a visual that really works for me. And so when I think about, can I imagine being as merciful as the Father? It's like, no, not on my own. There's no way, but I am tangled in the Trinity. And God was merciful by sending his son. Jesus was merciful by dying on the cross. And Spirit is merciful by guiding me. So with the Trinity tangled up with me, yeah, I can do that. but only with them. If I go the other way, there's going to be tension.
So cool. That makes me think of what Bob Shank was saying about my yoke is easy and how we go the other direction and the bit gets yanked.
Yes, I was thinking of that also.
Yeah, it's like, are we going to feel the subtle shift and direction of someone who loves us very much, who knows the most healthy way to go?
Yeah, exactly.
Or are we going to do something different? Okay. And then last journal prompt, we're going to ask the Father to teach us. I love always ask, seek, knock. Ask, seek, knock. The Trinity loves questions. Ask the Father to teach you about mercy. What does it look like to cultivate compassion? And then always ask, in what ways am I already doing this? What are you proud of me, Papa, in the ways I'm already being merciful? If you can see that, maybe that gives you the pathway to say, okay, I'm capable, and he loves this about me, and we're going to double down and we're going to move in mercy so we can be like Papa. So good. Cathy, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
Thank you, Rob.
So wonderful to be with you. This conversation was super rich. It's going to benefit a lot of people. So thank you for that.
You bet. Just a quick shout out to my 100X Life Launch ladies. Doing great. Keep up the good work. And to all of you as others as well. Just love hearing all the posts and everything. It's super awesome to see how people are just leaning in and learning and transforming. It's awesome.
I'm so glad you said that, because I haven't said this on the podcast yet. If you're on a channel and you haven't spoken up, if you haven't introduced yourself, if you haven't said what's going on in your brain, we see that you're watching the channel. We know when you're watching the channel. Will you please just take the time to write something? I'm here with a hand. Or here's what happened that's really good. This is what I'm excited about. This is where I'm challenged. We love it all. We're encouraged by all. And you've got a lot of encouragement coming back at you. So that's a great asking people to do that. So awesome. Thanks, Cathy. And we will see you all tomorrow.
Thanks, Rob.
If you believe in the 100X Life movement, please follow and invite a friend by sharing this podcast. The 100X Life movement can also be found on Instagram and Facebook, and also at 100xlife.com. The 100X Life podcast was produced by Jenna D of Jenna D Services, with music by Ryan Ellis.
Lost, but you found me here, and your fire burns inside. It will not disappear, because the Spirit of the Lord is upon me to bind up the broken.